Now, my first guest this morning is hunting for zinc in the Irish soil, and he's just raised $3.5 million on the stock market to do it. Bart Jaworski is the Chief Executive of Group 11 Resources, and he joins me now in studio. Good morning, Bart.
Good morning, Gavin.
Bart, this money that you've raised on the market, what are you going to use that to do?
Well, we've got a two-pronged approach, really, to the exploration is what we're going to do. So first, we're going to drill our most promising drill targets. And secondly, we're going to conduct a regional rethink, if you will. So that's going to consist of analyzing geological and geophysical data with fresh eyes to see if we can see anything different, apply the newest thinking and know-how to the large swaths of land that we've been able to acquire.
And where are these targets, Bart? Where's the land that you have?
They're all over Ireland. So we have Ballinalack, sort of in the northwest by Navan, and we have land in Stone Park in the Limerick Basin. We have Tralee, we have Silver Mines. So we have four main areas. We have 99 licenses altogether. We actually have picked up the largest land position in the country, and we're ready to explore now that we've finished our IPO.
And you're at the stage now where basically you're going to bring equipment out to the fields and drill holes in the fields and hopefully...
Well, part of that will be drilling, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So part of that will be that, but also we've teamed up with TELUS, and so TELUS is a government industry initiative, so we'll be flying some geophysics. Obviously, data compilation is a big component of it. I mean, there's been thousands of reports written on the ground that we've had since the 50s. You know, the modern era of exploration in Ireland really started in the 1950s with Pat Hughes. And so since that time, a lot of companies have come and gone and have explored and written reports. So we've been very busy over the last 3 years doing the sort of research on that, picking our best targets, distilling it down to the key targets, and here we are. And on some of them, we're ready to drill. On others, we want to rethink it and see whether the previous operators have really missed something. And that's part of the allure.
Now, what makes Ireland a good place to explore for zinc?
Well, Ireland just happens to be a world-class jurisdiction for zinc. So it's the Isle of Zinc, if you will. It's one of the largest zinc producers in Europe, host to some of the largest zinc deposits in the world. So Navan, for example, is 100 million
Tara Mines there.
Tara Mines, absolutely. Palace Green is Glencore's project. They have 44 million tons on the books. So, and some geologists, amongst geologists, Ireland is thought of as number one in terms of zinc found per square kilometer. So overall, it's great geology, which is very conducive to forming world-class zinc deposits. The deposits themselves tend to be large, clean. They're easy to beneficiate. So metallurgically, they're very good and highly sought after. Politically, obviously, Ireland ranks very high. If you look at the Fraser Institute, which is a very well-respected Canadian think tank, that ranks Ireland number one out of more than 100 jurisdictions worldwide in terms of policy perception index.
We always like being number one.
Yeah, number one is good.
Yeah, and can I just ask you, Bart, zinc prices are rising. They have risen a lot over the last 18 months or so. Why has that been? I mean, that's been making it a really hot commodity.
Yeah, it has. I mean, since late 15, zinc prices have shot up about 150% from 65 cents to about $1.62 right now. So why is that? Predominantly on supply concerns. So several mines recently have run out of ore. For example, here at home, Galmoy Lachine, but also in Australia, there's a mine called Century, which ran out of ore. Glencore, which is one of the world's largest zinc producers, mothballed about 500,000 tons of production in 2016. Chinese production has also been constrained. And at the same time, demand has been steady and growing. The use of zinc predominantly is galvanizing steel, so making steel rust-proof, if you will. And that's driven by construction, car manufacturing, white goods, like your washing machines, etc. And then the exciting part, I think, in my opinion anyway, which people are just now starting to talk about, is the use of zinc in batteries. And there's been some real breakthroughs in the scientific community in terms of zinc being used as a sort of a new age battery metal that is now rechargeable and very well equipped for storing grid power. And that means it can compete potentially with lithium batteries, which of course have been all the craze recently. So it's an interesting element of it, yeah.
Now, if you're going to move beyond the exploration phase into having an operational commercial zinc mine, you're going to have buy-in from the local community in the areas where you're working. So talk to me a little bit about your plans in that regard. How are you going to keep the community on side?
Well, we're already talking to the community in terms of, if you want to explore, especially if you want to drill a hole, you have to get the landowner's permission first. So you go on and talk to them face to face, and you sit down with them and you explain to them what's going to happen, what we'd like to do, and get their permission first. And do
you have to pay them a fee?
There'd be a compensation. Landowners would get compensation. It's the same sort of across the board. So we would have a policy. Group 11 would have their own policy on what we pay. Other zinc explorers would have different numerical numbers, I guess. But so first and foremost, you have to get the permission. You have to respect the land. You have to clean up after yourself. That's absolutely essential. If we were lucky to find something economic and large enough to potentially look at a mining scenario, which, maybe a year, 2 or 3 down the line, maybe we'd be in that position. Then at that stage, it'd be more of a process, I guess, of community outreach, town hall meetings, et cetera, et cetera. But we're nowhere near close to that stage right now. We're just purely an exploration company. So essentially, we're just looking right now to see if we can find something.
And if we're talking about a time frame, maybe when you might be at a stage where you have an operational zinc mine, is it possible to say, in 5 years' time we're aiming to have it, or 10 years?
Well, I would hope so within 5 years. But again, it all depends on Mother Nature. We're going to drill. We have our, good ideas, scientifically derived ideas. We're going to test, and it's up to Mother Nature to see if the deposits are there or not. We think that they will be. But I think ideally within a couple of years, we'd find potentially, hopefully, something. And in that stage, we'd enter that threshold and start talking about mining something. But definitely not there yet.
Okay, and you raised this, we were talking about you listing on the stock market. You went to Canada to raise that money. Mm-hmm. Why was it Canada that you decided to go for?
Yeah, we went to the Vancouver Stock Exchange. That's the TSX Venture. And it is the world's capital for venture capital, basically. So it's you have all the infrastructure there in terms of the accounting firms, the legal firms, the investors. There's a culture of investing in junior resource exploration stories. The TSX was formed in the early 1900s based on the gold rush and people looking for gold up north and things like that. So there's that culture. There's also tax breaks for investors in Canada if they invest in a Canadian project. So that has spurred on that culture, if you will. So it is just a natural place for. I'm from Vancouver originally, and so I know that market very well. I used to be a mining analyst in Vancouver as well for about 9 years. So I just know the lay of the land there.
And is an Irish listing something you'd look at down the line?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're now that we're finished the IPO in Vancouver, we definitely be starting to look at Dublin listing and just being have more of a presence here and in Europe more broadly.
Okay, Bart Jaworski, Chief Executive of Group 11 Resources. Thanks very much for that, and wish you the best of luck. We'll be back after this.